Hi, today we are going to create this amazing effect from Ronaldo's website. So if I hover one item, that item becomes active, meaning it will expand, and then we have this text also showing on the active item. And also if you notice, if I hover one item, image will become better. It has more color, while other images are in grayscale mode. So spoiler alert, we are going to use a bit of custom CSS. It's not everything pure done in Builder. We will need to write only a bit of custom CSS, but in general, it's not that hard to achieve this. And we are also going to post this work in our sections, so you will be able to use it, just drag and drop it in your website and change content. Okay, so I already created it here, so I can show you how it looks in my version. In his version, he has video here, but I'm just using image. It's same. We can do the video, but it doesn't make any difference. You can add video if you like, but we are going to just do images. Okay, so let's start. I already created navbar here. I don't want to show you how you can create navbar. Navbar is pretty simple. We will just start with hero section. So let's create a hero section here. We need container. So this container is to have your website in middle of, if someone is using really a large screen, like 4K content, and this slider will be in middle, and my container is maximum size of full HD, which is 1920. So that's why we use container to keep content tight in middle of screen, no matter how big is your screen. So that's, and also one thing that I didn't show you, this becomes a slider after a certain point. We will do slider from the tablet and below. But why is this important? Because before we start making this, we need to think up front, and we need to create it like it is a slider even on desktop, because we don't want to create a separate component on desktop and then hide that one and unhide one for tablets. We want one same section to use everywhere. So we need to think up front. If we also, one more thing, if I resize this, give me a second, height of these cards is always taking full height of your screen. So if you see, if I'm resizing, it is going to take full height always. So we will do that as well. So let's get back to work. So we have a hero section. In order, we want this section to take full window height minus this header. And header is in size 50 pixels height. So we want this to take 100 VH minus those 50 pixels. So how we are going to use that, do that? Simply go hero, set height to be calc 100 VH minus 50 pixels. And we need to disable this unit here. So I put it in paragraph here, so you see what I wrote there completely. So you can do this in CSS. So I just wrote that in my height, and now the height of this hero, as you can see, is taking full screen size minus this number. Okay. So let's go to the header, remove this paragraph. Now we need to start creating slider. So this is like a slider of cards. We have a slider wrapper. This is how Swiper is working and how you should create a slider in Divhunt. So nothing special here. So I'll just do it like this, and this is slide. And inside slide, we have one image, which is a background, and we have content, which is like a div holder, and inside we have heading 2, paragraph, and one link. Okay, so I don't need to do link for this case. I will just make it simple. So we are going to use one image that's for background. So this is like background image. And we have a content. And in content, we are going to add just heading 2 and simple paragraph. We don't want to add link. A link is simple. If you need to add it, It's not that hard. Okay, so what is important now? We want this slider wrapper to be flex. So if I add more items, so I will loop this item 6 times, it is going to put them below. And we want them to be in flex. So what we need to do is go to the slider wrapper, put slider wrapper to be flex, and we want to make sure that each slide is same width. So if I have a bigger image in one slide and in another slide I have smaller image, I don't need to care about that. I just want everything to be the same width. So how do we do that? Because this is flex now, as you can see, I can go to the slide now and click on this icon, or I can open these 3 dots and type here 1. But I can just click on this icon, and now I'm sure that this will take always the same size. So that's what we want. So now I will show you by hiding these elements. So even if I hide these two inside, if I select slide, okay, slide is not, let's set height 30 for example, you will see that all my slides are now taking same width, which is really important for this case. Okay, let me return that image and content. On this image I will just put something for now, so we have it, and we have a content here. So what we need to do now, both of these elements need to be absolute. They don't need to be, you can create this in many other ways, but I will do it, I like doing everything absolute, so I will put this image to be absolute. Width 100%, height 100%. Now problem is we need position relative on our slide. And now this image is always 100% width and 100% height inside of this slide div. Okay, our div needs now to be full height. So we want the div to be all the way down. So how do we do that? Because our hero is already like full height, we want everything inside of this hero to be also full height. So now we can put on this container to be 100% height, slider as well, slider wrapper, and there's probably a better way to do this, but this is not bad as well. So now everything is same. We want just 50% padding at the bottom, so we have that bottom dark square. Okay, this image feels distorted now. Let's put it to cover. And now this looks great. What we need to do now, create this content, we want to put it here. So how do we do that? Simple. Again, we use position absolute. We put position bottom left 0, and we have set width to 100%. Height is going to be automatic, and we can put some kind of padding here. Let's put it like this. Doesn't matter. And we have content there, and it's not really readable, and that's because on these images we have a dark layer behind text and in between of image and text. So we need to create one more div, which we are going to call overlay. And that overlay is also going to be position absolute, and it is going to take again full height and full width of our div. And we will create it to be a gradient. We want it to start from dark, but not completely dark at the bottom. We want like slightly transparent, and on top we don't want any transparency. We can just invert this, and this is good now. Only thing now, we need to make Z index correctly. So first it goes background image, then we have a overlay, and then we have a content. So let's go by that. I will select this my background image. My Z index is 0, that's fine. We go to the content, we put Z index 1. No, sorry, 2, because it needs to be strongest one. And then on overlay, we put 1. And now we have a correct order of Z index. So we have image, overlay, content. Easy. Let's style this maybe a better. This text is too big, so I'll put it to 24, this 16, maybe 14, and a bit of margin here. That's fine. So now what we need to do, we need to create gaps. You will see on the right side we have gaps. That's simple, just select your slider wrapper and set gap to 20, for example, and we have all the gaps now. Now we are ready to start creating those animations. First thing you will notice that this text is not visible on the correct version. So here, this is hidden by default. So it is only being shown when I hover over it. So how do we do that? Simple. Go to the content and set opacity to 0. And that's it. And now we want on hover of this item to expand it. So how do we do that? Just select hover of slide, and here it is set to this single icon as default. But on hover we want this twice the bigger, so we can open this custom settings here, and we can remove all this and put only number 2. And this will just on hover increase size of hover the element to twice as the default. So if I hover now, you will see that it is increasing size of my element. Only missing thing now is transition, so it doesn't happen instantly. So that's simple. We go to the slide and we put slightly transition like duration of 200. So if I hover now, it's better. But you will notice one thing here. If I hover here, animation doesn't start instantly. So when I hover, it waits like half a second and then it starts. So how do we do that? Same, where we create a transition, we have a property delay. So we can set the delay to be like 300. So now when I hover, it waits 300 milliseconds and then expands it. Okay, now what we need to do is to show that text when I hover selected element. So how do we do that? We are going on hover of this to target what is happening with our content. And one way to do this is to add class to this element. So I'll add class card content. And now I can go to the slide and set here custom CSS state, which is going to be hover. And we are going to target that class. So I will edit that. And now we need to put 100% opacity. When I hover this element, I want 100% opacity on this content because this content is set to 0 opacity as default. So I will just override this. And now when I hover, it says it shows me my content, but it doesn't look good because there's no any transition or animation on this text. So what should happen now? When I hover here, this text needs to wait for this animation to be done and then fade in. So that's simple. We just go to the content and set transition to be duration doesn't matter, but delay needs to be 500 because on this slide we set duration to be 200 and delay 300. In total that's half a second, and it needs half a second in order to finish everything, and then we are ready to show this content. Okay, so we will set delay 500 on this animation. And now if I hover, it waits half a second and then it shows it. But we don't need delay on hover out. So if I hover out, we don't want that delay. So we need a reverse logic here. So when I'm on content, I need 0 millisecond delay. And on hover, I just want to set this 500 milliseconds. So how I'm gonna do that? I will select again that slide. Select slide, go to custom CSS here, hover, we will target again card content, edit, and we want here to be 500. So now you see, and if I hover out, it will happen instantly because on default state, it doesn't have delay. It has delay only on hover state. So see, and now it's working perfectly. Next part is I'm not hovering anything. I want first item to be active. So here it comes part where we use a bit of custom CSS. So yeah. So how we are going to do that? Here's an idea. Idea is if I hover this whole wrapper that is holding them, when my mouse goes inside, I'm going to put everything in default, like literally every item in default. And then when I hover something, actually, the effect that we already done is doing that. I mean, doing animation part. And when I hover out, I want first item. I will target specifically first item, and I will put it when I'm not hovering anything just to be visible. So we need to select this parent element, and we can open here custom CSS. Okay, so what we need to do is on hover of this, actually not on hover, we want when it is not hovered to target first child. So how do we do that? We select div inside, which is first child element, and select first of type, which is going to be this element, first one. So let's open here, and we want this element to be default flex 2. When I'm not hovering anything, I want it to be expanded and to be as default. And I want everything else to be flex 1 to take regular space. Next, we want inside of our first div, we are going to target that content, and we are going to set opacity 100% to that content in default state. So we select div first of type, we target here card content and set opacity to 100%. And now if I hover, first child doesn't react if I'm hovering anything else. It will just keep its size, and that text inside first child will be always visible. So how do we fix that? We want to target on same this element. We want when we are hovering our parent slider wrapper, we will put first child to flex 1, and we will do the same for our card content. So I will just write it here. Opacity needs to be 0, sorry. Okay, now it is almost working. So when I hover now some item, first one will get smaller, and everything is working as expected. Problem comes now, if I hover the first element, it will not work because here we have set if I'm hovering parent, which I am doing while hovering first element, it needs to be flex 1. So one idea how to fix this is basically to go to the slide, and when we are hovering it, we want this to be important, and we will also add important to card content. So when we are covering specific card, we want to make sure that that card will be 100% visible, and it is going to take 2 spaces. So that's why we use importance to override what I have put in our parent. So now if I go and check, it will work as expected. The only issue that we have now is when I hover out completely from my canvas, first content, this one here doesn't have any delay. So you'll see it looks kind of broken because there's no delay when I hover out. So how we are going to do that? We will take this delay that we used before. So I will just use it with custom CSS. I will open slider wrapper, and here we will target card content, same where we wrote 100%. We want to reset transition to be with delay. So if I save now, you will see that if I hover out, there's a delay. But now we need to fix when I hover in, I need this to immediately be removed. So we need to remove delay when I hover in. You will see that it's currently broken out. So how do we do that? We just duplicate this line, when I hover this whole parent, we will put transition to 0. We save, and now when I hover, text immediately fades out, and it is working now as expected. Now if I hover out, text has delay. If I hover in, there's no delay, it instantly fades out. So now everything is perfect. I would say only thing left to do is that a little touch with images. So we can select here image. We go to the design, set filter to be grayscale, not completely grayscale. Let's put it to 80. So it is almost black and white. And then we will target on hover of our parent element. We are going to target our image and put filter to grayscale 0, which is default. And now if I hover, we get the colored version of an image on hover. Only missing thing is delay. Not delay, transition. So let's just add transition here. 400 is pretty good. So now if I hover, it looks amazing. So we can start changing images before we move to the responsive. So let's change images so it looks much better. One thing, when you click here, you are applying changes to all the elements if it is not already applied. So here we have a loop. So if I select loop, go to the second item, I can select this image. Then I can go to the third item, select this, fourth, same story. Let's use this one from Juventus. We have this one, and I think only one more. Here you go. Now we have six items with different images, which looks much better now. Okay, I will not change this text. Changing this text is simple. You can just click on it and add your content here. You can do whatever you want in this content. I just added the images so it looks better. Okay, idea now, when I go to the tablet version, so here, we want this to become slider. So we want to reset literally everything and show slider. So how do we do that? Let's go back to the desktop version, and on our slider, we are going to put transform to swiper. If you don't have this means you didn't install swiper plugin. So you do that by going to the settings, browse plugins, and you can install swiper here, and you will have option to set on this slider. We can enable swiper now. So here are defaults. On desktop, we don't want this to be sliders, so we will put our maximum amount of slides, which is 6 in this example. If I had 5 items, I would put here 5 because I want to show them all at the same time. So I will put 6, and we don't need to touch anything on desktop now. We can go directly to the tablet. On tablet, I want to be showing 2.2 slides. So we want 2 slides and a bit of third one. So people will know they can scroll through slides. And on mobile, we are going to show 1.2, for example. Let's go to the tablet. So now what we need to do is to restart all the styles that we don't need that we applied on the desktop version. So hover effects mostly. So first thing we need to do is to reset flex, which is giving the space to our elements. We want now our slider to take care of that. So how we are going to do that? We'll click on slide. Here we can go to custom code, and here we are going to type none important, and this is going to let slider choose what width of item is. So we are going to do that also for hover state. So let's go to the hover, and instead of 2, set none. And what we need to do also is remove transition effects. So we want transition to be 0, 0 on our slides. So if I refresh now, you will see that I got my slider on my tablet version. Only thing missing now is this text is being shown only when I hover specific element. I don't want that. Now on this version, I want text to be always visible, and that's it. So how do we do that? We can go to the content and we can set opacity to 100%, and that should be it. So now our text is always 100% opacity, and we have a slider. So if we open now tablet version, we can see this is a slider now. And if I go to the mobile version, you can see also it is working on mobile. Now this content is not visible on first element. That's because we set opacity to 0 on desktop version for first child. So one simple quick fix for that is basically to set important. If I go to the CSS here, I'll put my content to be 100% opacity but important. And now it should be visible all the time on all items. Okay, so as you can see, our height is reducing. If I have smaller screen on our desktop version, we have this effect, and it's pretty much done. Okay, so as I said, we are going to put this section in our marketplace, so you are free to use it. Just change your images, change your content. In this content, you can add links, you can add whatever you want. Okay, so that's it. Hopefully you liked it. If you have some more ideas that you want me to create and to show you how to build it in Divhunt, please share below in comments and I will gladly do it.